We are only 1 week away from Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, and while I don't think the fight should really be happening, I'm obviously going to watch it. So today, we're going to look through their fighting history and we're going to break it down. So let's get into it. So this is Jake Paul's box rec. He's 27 years old, he's 10-1. He came from that YouTube boxing scene. He fought Deji, he fought Anisan Gibb, and then after that he started wanting to fight athletes. So he fought Nate Robinson on the Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. undercard, funnily enough. And then people were telling him, we want you to fight real fighters. So he then fought Ben Askren, and while not a very long fight, it did show that he was able to beat a fighter. A wrestler, but still a fighter, technically. And his first real challenge, in our perspective, was Tyron Woodley, former UFC welterweight champion. And up to this stage in the fight, Jake Paul was doing quite well, but he gets complacent for 1 second, and then Tyron Woodley goes up to him and hits him with this big shot here. And this was the only time we've ever really seen Jake Paul hurt. And I think it shows. He's got a decent chin, he's able to get out of the way, move around when he needs to, but I remember I was screaming at the TV, very quietly because it was 5 AM, but still quietly screaming at the TV for Tyron Woodley to finish him, go on, do something. He wasn't doing much to capitalise on the damage he just dealt, but to be fair to Jake Paul, he's got solid fundamentals, he's able to last the full 8 rounds, and you know, he's doing his thing, and he won on points, so fair play. Now, while the first fight wasn't mind-blowing, he was able to move around, bank the rounds, and deal some fairly good damage while showing he's got a pretty good chin. Now, this second Tyron Woodley fight is a different story. This was not a fun fight to watch. Lots of holding, very messy, but for what Jake doesn't have in technique or boxing IQ, he does have in an absolute bomb of a right hand, which you can see here. He fakes low and goes high and puts Tyron clean out on the canvas. Very impressive knockout. While it is impressive that he knocked out a former UFC champion, we wanted to see Jake fight someone who is his age, his weight, and an actual professional boxer, which he then did against Tommy Fury. This was also a pretty messy fight, a pretty scrappy fight, but when there's clean boxing, Tommy, 9 times out of 10, won the exchanges with a nice little jab there, for example. So what Tommy did really well in this fight is he threw combinations where Jake would only rely on his power shots, his right hand, his left hand, his overhands, and Tommy would throw combinations, he would counter him, just like that, and it eventually led him to outbox him to a decision. After that loss to Tommy Fury, Jake Paul went on a bit of a rebuilding process. He beat Nate Diaz in a 10-round decision, and then he started fighting people with winning records, but who were retired or hadn't fought for 5 years on these non-pay-per-view shows to try and illustrate that he was trying to take the traditional boxing route of fighting journeymen on small shows, but it just didn't look fair. And this brings us to Mike Perry. To be fair to Jake Paul, he looks a lot better than he did against Tommy Fury. He's throwing his jab, which is a lot snappier, he's able to find his range, he's moving around, but he just doesn't have the same opposition. And if you look at Mike Perry, he's got his hands down, he's not really trying to defend, and he pays the price for it and gets dropped. I think he's had one tune-up fight too many, and he needs to be in there with some proper opposition now, someone who will push him to his limits. And who's he in there with next week? He's going to be in there with 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Let's have a look at some of his fights. So this is his fight against Michael Spinks. A lot of people consider this Tyson's most impressive performance, and it's because he's so relentless, he's so aggressive, and he's got an interesting style for World Championship boxer. He's squared up, he relies on his head movement with his peekaboo style, and there you go, it works. And I don't think this is the end either. And here we go. Bam. Down he goes. Let's just be clear. If Jake Paul fought that version of Mike Tyson, he would get absolutely demolished. But that's not the Mike Tyson he's going in there with next weekend. The Mike Tyson Jake Paul is going to be fighting is 58 years old and he's out of his prime. So let's look at some of his more recent fights. So this is Mike Tyson versus Kevin McBride. It's the last fight he took before his first retirement, I guess. And look at him, he's just not got the same pace, he's so slow. And while he can land that big right hand, He's just not got the same movement. He's not got the same ferocity that he has anymore. This is what I imagine Mike Tyson's going to look like after the first few rounds with Jake. I don't think he's going to have the same gas tank that he used to. Just not the same speed anymore. Not the same energy. He's not the same Mike Tyson that he used to be. And he's retired on the stool in this fight. Yeah, it's not great. So if that was Mike Tyson when he was 38, what is he going to look like in his 50s? Well, we actually know the answer, because in 2020, he had an exhibition with one Roy Jones Jr. Let's have a look. So this is 54-year-old Mike Tyson. And to be fair to him, he looks a little bit more motivated, he looks like he's got a bit more energy. But this is round one Mike Tyson. And to be fair, he's doing a bit of work here. There you go, he's still got a bit of head movement. He's not as fast as he used to be. And he needs a bit more time between exchanges to reset. But when he throws, he's got mean intentions. Look at him. Now, while that is the most recent Mike Tyson fight, we do have some training footage that was put out very recently showing him in training camp for this fight. So he got a bit of bag work here. Moving his head. There you go. He's still really fast, to be fair. It's amazing that he's able to do this at 58 years old. But how long is he going to be able to do this for? That's what I'm wondering. So what are my early predictions for this fight? So I think Mike Tyson will have a very fast start. I think he's going to try and put Jake out in the first 2 to 3 rounds. But what I think Jake will do is I think he'll weather the storm, throw some counter punches, and then eventually I think he'll put Mike down and then he'll back him up against the ropes and tap him until the referee waves it off. But what I hope will happen is I hope Mike Tyson goes in there, shows that he's still got it, and lands the big shot and puts Jake on the floor. It's not going to happen though, is it? Anyway, that's all from me. Remember to like, subscribe, put those notifications on, and remember to tune in to our live stream fight watch along next Friday evening. Thank you for watching.